Hi everyone, Sayer G here, and today I'm doing a video because something very interesting is happening at Google. And it's something we identified back in June of 2019 when effectively most natural health sites' search results were banned or scrubbed from Google. This was an event that, created a lot of ripple effects in the community because it sort of indicated there was an impending censorship event that could affect our health freedom and our access to information. As you've seen with the COVID crisis, if you will, there's been a lot of censorship, and more than that, many of us have been forced into a situation where we're dealing with isolation, quarantine, social distancing, and now mandatory medical interventions, which you may not look at it this way, but social distancing, wearing masks, spraying disinfectants are all medical interventions that are signaling a type of submission to a narrative that actually is not based on facts any longer. And what I mean by that is initially when the WHO did their case fatality rate estimates for COVID, they published their results showing that up to 15% of those who would become infected with COVID would die. That's 15%. Since then, they've down-regulated their estimate to 4%. But the reality is that COVID has a lethality, if at all, of 0.1% at most. And when I say if at all, it's because the WHO and the US Vital Statistics agencies remove the requirement to test for COVID to pronounce someone dead from COVID. So even the death statistics that are reported as fact on the media are not evidence-based. They do not show a confirmed case of a COVID death. Why would they do that? Because at this point we know that at most this is like the seasonal flu in affecting health. But in order to push through their psychological operation, they had to make it seem as if it was far more deadly than it is. So part of this is the psychological operation, which is Google. And what I mean by that is that there was a very powerful behavioral effect identified in 2015 known as the search engine manipulation effect. This was based on the work of Richard Epstein, a scientist who in 2015 discovered that up to 80% in some demographics of voting preferences of undecided voters were determined by search engine manipulation. Now, what is search engine manipulation? It's very subtle. Let me give you an example. So if we were to type into Google vaccines cause, oh, here you go. You get some auto suggestions, right? Vaccines cause adults. Interesting. You'd think that that is a representation of the actual volume of searches occurring on the planet, and that Google's sort of averaging up what is something that you would probably search for because others have searched for it. That is in fact how Google describes its autocomplete. It describes it as based on actual search volume. It's predictions, not suggestions. So they're saying that the autocomplete, if you will, is based on real searches that happen on Google and show common and trending ones relevant to the characters that are entered. Okay? So basically they're saying that they're not trying to put this into your mind, but it reflects what other people are searching for. Well, that would be great if it was true, but in fact what we found out, which we've been reporting on for some time, is that when it comes to these searches, Google's own product line, which includes Google Trends, shows that in fact this is not the dominant search. Vaccines cause adults is not as plentiful a search keyword as vaccines cause autism. But of course you won't find that because they've scrubbed it. And that's part of the, see look, you can't even put it in. It doesn't enable you to. So that is an example of how Google takes advantage of the trust that people have, that it actually reflects something that's algorithmically objective, right? That there's some kind of massive AI behind the scenes, but when you pull back the curtains, you see there's a little Oz-like man who is determining the political sequences of results so that they can affect behavioral change. Now, the search engine manipulation effect is has been called the most powerful behavioral effect ever identified in our species. You know, you think about it. Your most vulnerable moment is when you don't know something and you want to Google it. It's become a verb for that reason. So this is not a small thing. So when we get to the question of COVID, what I found today, because I do this periodically, it's something I encourage other citizen journalists to do, is I typed in, let's see, coronavirus is, oh, look at that. Okay, is not the flu, it's worse. That's interesting. I thought that I was just referring to the fact that coronavirus is no more deadly than the seasonal flu, which is what Anthony Fauci published a report in the New England Journal of Medicine on just over a month ago, where he states the case fatality rate is likely that of a bad flu season, 0.1%. But Google wants us to think, apparently, Google's coronavirus is not the flu, it's worse. So let's see what the actual search volume shows. Coronavirus is not the flu. Wow, look at that, 0. Okay, the second one, coronavirus is not over, is pretty high. Okay, now where does that come up? Coronavirus is not over. Okay, so you have to really look for it. So why is it Google's putting that on the top? It's not based on anyone searching. And this is not a unique situation. In fact, this has been done all over the place for natural medicine. And this is what I think contributed, along with the work of Zach Voorhees, the Google whistleblower, to Google actually fixing some of this crap. Okay, so look, you type in organic is, or at least back then, organic is, it used to suggest it's a lie. Okay, well, they're still doing it. So that's an example, again, of where they're manipulating people's thought process here at the most critical moment. Not reflecting, as they say, in their own published technical guidance on this, that this reflects actual search volume. So look what they were doing. Supplements are bad, useless, not regulated, not approved by the FDA, dangerous, blah, 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 scams, garbage, right? That's not what people are searching. And how can we show that? Because look at Google Trends data. They're showing supplements are good, 100% versus 19%. So they're manipulating the consumer at the most vulnerable moment. And here again, they're predictions, not suggestions, according to Google. And yet they're actually, unfortunately, lying. They're not accountable for it. It's really sad. Taking vitamins is bad for you, a waste of money. Interesting. Well, could that be because your advertisers are actually now GlaxoSmithKline, and that Alphabet, the mother company of Google, is partnered in a vaccine manufacturing company and a nano medicines company, and that this is part of the agenda? Holistic medicine is fake, or chiropractic is fake. Naturopathy is dangerous. It's quackery. This is what they're doing, is they're manipulating people right there at the very most vulnerable moment, okay? So let's look at another interesting one I found, okay? Google this. COVID is a, let's see, where is it again? Let me go back. COVID is a scam, that's right. Okay, so I want to see if they're gonna give us that suggestion, because people are certainly searching for it. Nope. What they're doing, based on, look at this, global traffic. This is a very profound inflection point, right? People get locked down right around here, and look at it. This is scaling. People are realizing, wow, this is really a scam. The entire global economy is put into paralysis. Millions and millions are losing their jobs, livelihoods. They're being forced into their home. They're threatened with arrest without due process. Look at the people getting awake, and yet where is Google in this? They're suppressing the actual search volume. And so what this is essentially is a form of mind control, okay? And that's one of the things that we published on here. It's mind control tactics, okay? To be able to put this stuff out as if it's actually being searched for. Now, by the way, at one point, they were putting a lot of really, I think, hate speech type of associations with the term anti-vaxxer, which is basically, mainly, moms who question vaccine safety, moms and dads who've realized their children are injured and they're trying to find out the truth and help protect others from a similar fate. They were putting in anti-vaxxers are burdening the economy. Anti-vaxxers get owned was another one, which is like a street type of terminology, I guess, for humiliation and or worse. Suggestions like HPV vaccines are safe for your child. Of course no one's going to Google that. It's not even a question. But they're putting that in, wanting people to think certain thoughts. Why vaccines are good. Why vaccines are good, okay? Based on actual traffic, you can see that just as many people are searching why vaccines are bad, but that is not going to be put in there, okay? So there are other things going on here where if you start doing this kind of search, you will start realizing the patterns are there. So another one to look at is the second wave, right? So what we have here is that for the past few months, all throughout the world, this term has been thrown into the popular consciousness, okay? Predictive programming, if you will, is that throughout the world, people are now anticipating a second wave. And so that's why in the fall, we can anticipate that although we're seeing reopening occur, they've hired, what is it now, maybe 100,000 contact tracers or more in this country. And there's a bill that would like to disperse at least $100 billion into creating an army of people that are going to come to your house and say, hey, have you been tested for COVID? Even though the test doesn't actually test for the virus, but something called nucleic acid, because it's a PCR test and it's not designed to identify viruses. They're not going to tell you that. They don't know that. It's going to create false positives. And before you know, they're going to say, well, we have to track everyone you've been in contact with for the past 2 weeks, and then go to their houses and then give them the rundown, and okay, well, this family member apparently tested positive, so now we have to put you in quarantine. Or if you don't have more than one bathroom in your house, you don't have the choice of quarantining in your house. Here's a quarantine camp for your child or your family member. This is literally what they're trying to do. So that's where the second wave becomes important, and we start understanding how the mainstream media, government officials, published journals are planting this seed for this agenda, Plandemic 2.0. And that's where I encourage you to go to Question COVID, which is one of the few sites out there that takes the views of clinicians, researchers, health experts, whistleblowers, and gives you alternative views that have been censored. Many of these videos have been taken off of YouTube because they are too truthful to remain out there, and you're not going to find them actually on Google. You're not going to find them on CNN or anywhere else. So we need to do this work ourselves, folks. Feel free, please, to share this information. We are citizen journalists now. We are the very thing that we're looking for when it comes to media. We have to do that work, and I'm so happy that you are part of this and that we can do it together. So I hope this has helped, and again, please share this, and visit Greenman Info. We send out a newsletter daily, and this one will probably make it on today's newsletter. Thanks a lot, guys.